My name is Whitney Hill. I am an author and a marketing consultant as well. And today I will be speaking for about 45 minutes to an hour on all the different things that you need to learn when you're just getting started with analytics as an author. Either put your questions in the chat or hold them to the end, and I will do my best to answer everything. Let's get started. What we're going to cover today is who I am and basically why am I qualified to be talking about this at all, why authors need analytics, what analytics are, what data is available to you, what you should focus on, where you can find it, how you know if your numbers are good, and how you get started. The goal here is to understand the value of setting up a website and then building up your platform beyond having your name on the internet, beyond getting followers, and then to empower you to use that data. What we won't cover is any of these things. So how to set up a website or a social media account. I am assuming that you either have one or both, or you are planning to get them. And this is strictly to speak about understanding your analytics and not about how to set all of that up. We won't cover how to set up Google Analytics itself. This is meant to be a really high-level, non-technical discussion. I really wanted to make it approachable for as many people as possible. There are plenty of other good resources out there about how to set up Google Analytics. We won't be talking about advertising analytics. I wanted to keep it focused on anything that's available to you for free. So the idea here is to empower you to use your data, but without having to spend a lot of money on ads or anything else. Everything we're going to talk about is free. I won't be doing any in-depth interpretations of analytics. We'll go over the various things and what they are, but this is just, like I said, a high-level overview. We're not going to go into the real nitty-gritty of what everything is and what you need to do with it. We're also not going to go into the specifics of anybody's individual circumstances. So if you have questions, please try to frame them in a general fashion so that everybody can benefit from the knowledge. So without further ado, who am I? My name is Whitney Hill, and I am an author, indie publisher, and marketing consultant via Bennu Media. It's also my publishing imprint. I've got one novella published, one book published, another book on the way. So I very much consider myself part of the writing community, much more than a consultant, but my day job is in marketing. I have 10 years in marketing, advertising, consumer research, product management. I've worn probably every hat in the marketing department at various companies over the years, working in video games, e-learning, and tech. So creative and technical industry experience, and that really lends itself to this understanding of how data can really benefit what you're doing as a creative. So why should authors care about analytics? Well, it's numbers, right? And we really just want to write. We want to write the book. We want to get it out there. Analytics data helps you do things like define your audience. So I'm sure we would all love to have our books read by all people all over the world, but realistically, there's going to be some very specific people who are interested in what we have to offer. While we might have an idea of what that is, when we're writing, when we get started, we can use our website and our social media data to better define that audience, to better understand who it is that wants to hear from us. We can use our analytics to better understand how people learn about us as authors. So, you've heard all this advice about building a platform. You've heard you should have a website. You've heard that you should, do blog tours and, set up social media accounts on every platform. But all of that is not really going to be effective either at all or in equal amounts. Having a better understanding of your data helps you understand where best to spend your time online when you're not writing. It can help you create better content. Your blog and social media posts, if you're on YouTube, maybe you're making videos, all those kind of things that aren't directly related to your book. Because let's face it, I think we've all seen these, buy my book tweets with many, many hashtags. And I think after a while, we all understand that that gets tiresome to see, not only as a writer, but also as a reader. As developing content to help people see what else we're about, how do we spend better time, more time on the right content. That's another thing that our analytics can help us with. We want to find new opportunities for book sales. So there are ways that you can look at your data and understand where people are coming from, and then deciding that they want to purchase your book. Maybe they're clicking on a button that goes to Amazon on your website. I also want to have, obviously, a way to spend less money on advertising, because who has all the money in the world? We're not these massive corporations with the ad budgets. So we want to spend less money or spend it more effectively. In other words, what we're really trying to do is spend less time on things that aren't writing and make more money selling books by learning what actions count the most. It seems counterintuitive because, we're writers. So, of course, we want to spend as much time as possible on writing. We want to spend all our time on writing if we can. But as soon as you publish, you're a business person. That means we have to pay attention to things that aren't writing. So at this time, I'd like to invite you all to park any barriers you may have been putting up about, I'm not a numbers person, I just want to write. This is really something that you need to pay attention to if you plan to publish and you want to sell books. Let's back up a step. What is analytics? What does this even mean? What am I talking about? Now that you see why you need it, what even is it? It's about using numbers to understand audiences and opportunities. So we're collecting data, we're synthesizing it into reports, and then we're analyzing it, all the various sources that we can find it. And I'm going to walk through some of those sources in a little bit. We have multiple objectives when we're looking at this data. We want to establish baselines. How do you know what is good if you don't know what is basic? You can't really say if you have, a lot of people on your website if you don't understand how many people is normal for you. You can't really say that, I've had a really good post on social media if you don't know what the baseline is for a good post or for any post. We want to better understand our audiences. So again, like I said, maybe we want to have our book read by all people everywhere, but there's going to be a core group of people who really want what you have to offer. And the better we can understand them using data, using conversations and anecdotes, the better we will be able to not just write our books, but also position them in the market. I want to use data and analytics to improve performance. So, if you are spending money on ads, you can use your free data to inform what you're spending. You can use, this analytics data to improve performance on your social media posts, on your blog posts, on all of the things that you're doing. You're going to use it to uncover trends. So, if you see that a certain topic is trending, do you want to jump on the bandwagon, or do you want to, keep focusing on something else? Has that worked for you in the past? Is it worth trying again? Then, of course, just better using our time, money, and attention, because all of these things are finite. And obviously, a lot of us are doing multiple jobs. I'm sure we'd all love to be the best-selling author who doesn't have to work a day job, but the reality is that that's a long and hard path. So making sure that we're using our time and money and attention effectively and efficiently is really important, and analytics support that. So those are the reasons why we would take the time to collect and report and analyze on this web data. So cool. What data is available then? Our website, we can use Google Analytics, which is it's a third-party tool. You can find analytics via the website provider. So I know WordPress offers it, Squarespace offers some basic analytics. But Google Analytics is a free third-party tool, pulls in a whole lot more information. We can learn about our audience, and audience data will cover anything from their location in the world, their geolocation, their age, their gender, what devices they're using. You can learn a lot of things that can help you target either your writing or your marketing better. You can learn about acquisition, and acquisition just means how are you getting people to your website? Are they coming from social media? Are they coming from ads? Are they coming from referrals? So that blog tour that you did last week or last month? Are they coming from your newsletter? The better we can understand where that is or where people are coming from, better we can focus our efforts and our time and attention. We can look at behavioral data for what people are doing on our website. So, what pages are they visiting? How much time are they spending on that page? They enter a page and then go away, which would indicate either a lack of interest or they've gone and done what you wanted them to do. They got the information and left. And we can look at conversions. And conversion is just basically any action that you might want someone to take while they're on your website. Sales is typically, the big money conversion, but maybe we want them to sign up for a newsletter. Maybe we want them to download a PDF, a free guide or something. So these are all the things that we can look at a very high level, your website. Social media, we can get things like impressions. An impression is just basically a view. You'll sometimes see reach. So Facebook uses reach and impressions. Reach is just how many people, and impressions is how many views. It's kind of like if you're driving down a freeway and see a billboard. The number of people who could potentially see that billboard is the reach. And the number of times each of those people sees it is your overall impressions. You get clicks, and clicks are very tricky. You need to be careful when you're looking at those because sometimes it's not always a link click. If you've shared a link to Amazon or to your website, sometimes a click is just to enlarge the picture that came with that. It's to get more detail. It's to go to your profile. Always make sure that you are aware of what is meant when you're looking at your clicks. Shares are super valuable because that's free amplification. You have done something well, people are interested in it, and they want everyone else to know about it. As we're looking at, all these different social media analytics and metrics, shares are definitely one of the ones you want to aim for. Reactions are just, they clicked like or they clicked a little heart on Twitter. Those are nice, but they're not as valuable as something like a share or a comment. It's something that's very easy for somebody to react and keep scrolling. They haven't really engaged with your content. So obviously, we really want that engagement. We want people to be interested because that sends signals to the algorithms that your content is worth seeing and that maybe the algorithm should help promote it. Comments pretty self-explanatory. Engagement rate is made up of your clicks, your shares, your reactions, your comments divided by either reach or impressions, depending on the social network. This is where we start to see a little bit more complex calculation, but we want to see a much higher engagement rate on our things over time. And that's really tricky because as you add followers, it gets harder for everyone to see your things. So you may see engagement rate go down, but we want to keep engagement rate up. And demographics. So Facebook is really, really good on demographics. They're starting to scale back because it's frankly a little bit creepy how good they are. And in some places it has been a little bit illegal. So we're starting to see some of that go away. And Twitter has actually taken away some of their demographics. I think it was in January this year. So depending on the platform, you may get some limited demographics like age and gender. You may get nothing at all. It's really variable. So let's ease into what your analytics might look like. So I don't want people to feel like they have to jump straight into the tables. There's going to be a lot of tables, there's going to be a lot of data, and I'm going to walk through some of it just to give you some idea of what you're getting into before you go and get Google Analytics and open it up and feel overwhelmed. So this is real demographics data, and it's for my website. I'd like to open it up for people to answer. You can either answer in the chat, or if you briefly unmute yourself, then you can answer aloud. It's up to you. What do you think this data is telling me? I'm going to just go ahead and answer it and let you know that this is demographic data. This is for my website, like I said. And we're looking at age and gender, as you can see. Age, gender. What this is telling me is that the people who come to my website are largely age 25 to 34, with some secondary audiences around 18 to 24 and 35 to 44. It's also telling me that the majority of the people visiting my website are women, 61%. Why is this important for me to know as an author? Because if I'm writing a book and I think that it's for 25 to 34-year-olds, but that's not the audience that's coming to my website, I have a mismatch somewhere. I'm not spending my time on the right items. I'm not spending my valuable time that I could be writing, promoting my work to the right people. I was writing a book for senior citizens. and the majority of people were 18 to 24, I'm not really in the right place. I'm not marketing the right way. I'm not reaching the right people. So that would be a really big red flag for me to stop and look at as an author. Now, personally, I write adult urban fantasy. I expect to see people in exactly the age range and the gender that I'm looking at. So I can see, okay, like I said, 25 to 34 and female. That's exactly the people that I'm trying to reach. So this is just, like I said, an example of benchmarking. We want to see what is normal, match it up with what we actually think, like, does it match what we were expecting? So let's get into a little bit more. A lot of numbers here. This is an example of an acquisition report from Google Analytics. And I just want to say, like, don't panic. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by amount of data available if you're just starting out and you're not used to looking at this much information. I'm going to really quickly walk through all of this. Like I said, it's going to be very high level. I'm not really going to explain like why we look at it so much, but definitely going to just very quickly walk through it. Default channel grouping. This is how Google buckets all of the channels through which somebody might reach my website. I have paid social, which is a custom channel that I set up so that I could track my efforts in advertising on Facebook and Instagram and all of that. We have organic social, we have display. Display is those third-party ads you'll see, as an image on different websites. You might see text ads on different websites. That's display. Direct traffic, people coming straight to my website. Maybe they clicked a link that didn't have any tracking code in it. They had it bookmarked. They typed it in directly from seeing it, spelled out somewhere. It's traffic that we can't really attribute to another source. Paid search is Google Ads. So if you're on Google and you're typing in a search query, it'll be the ads that come up around the answer to your query. Organic search, it's just people Googled me and they found me and they came to my website. And then a referral will be another website sent them my way. That's the non-numbers part. We see these other columns. It's broken up by acquisition, behavior, conversion. So if you remember a few slides back, those are the overall, like the high level things that I talked about we could look at as authors. Acquisition is just who is coming to my website. So users, just individuals who were cookied and they came to my website. New users is a subset of those. How many has, Google not seen on my site before? Sessions is a measure of traffic. So it's just how many visits, essentially. If you're one of those people who opens, 50 tabs and leaves them open, your session will automatically time out at 30 minutes and then count as a new session when you return. So that's why we see sessions as higher than users. Look at behavior. What are people doing on the website? Well, we see that we have three figures here. We have a bounce rate. The bounce rate simply means that somebody came to the website and went away without taking any other action. They didn't click anything. They didn't go to a new page. They didn't do anything at all. They just came and they left. We'll go through it a little bit later when we're talking about what is good, what numbers are good, say like how we should read all of these things. Pages per session, simply how many pages did somebody go on and visit while they were on your website. Again, those sessions will time out, or if they leave and come back, that starts a new session. So we want to see ideally that this is more than one. Average session duration, how long are people on your website? Like I said, it times out at 30 minutes. People are not usually going to spend 30 minutes on your website. If they do, they are probably playing a game or they're streaming or something else that's otherwise really highly engaging. I have conversions, so you can see I've set mine to goal 1, which is click this buy button. I have my page. You can see, it says buy the ebook, it says buy the paperback. I have all of these links. All of these are tagged on my website so that I can see who visited my website and who clicked a buy button. And this is important to know as an author because I don't know who's clicking my buy button. I don't even know that people are clicking my buy button. And why do I have this landing page? It's not really enough to set up the page and then hope that it's working. We have to be able to see what people are doing and, where are they coming from. So, we'll just look at paid social because that's obviously the far and away biggest source of traffic. Like I said, this is acquisition data. So paid social is the greatest channel of acquisition for me because I've spent money on ads. I can see that those ads are paying off because 303 people in a given time period clicked on the button to go buy my book. I want to caveat that does not mean they actually went and bought the book. It means that they were interested enough in this information, cover, the blurb, information about where they can find it. They were interested enough in that information to go ahead and click the buy button to go to a specific shop. Unfortunately, we can't get information about, what they did on Amazon other than what Amazon tells us in our reporting data. So that's a bit frustrating because there is a gap because, unless you have the shop on your own website, you're simply just not going to know. You're only going to see the end up in sales. The other nice thing we can see is that there's a conversion rate. How many, or actually rather, out of all of these people, these users, how many of them actually went ahead and clicked buy? And I'll just say like these are all pretty good, very good conversion rates for thing where we're asking somebody to spend money. I can see here though that referral, I've gotten no purchases based on referrals. So right now, as an author, if I'm trying to figure out where to spend my time online, I can see that spending time on these paid social ads is paying off. You can also see that spending time on social media has the potential to pay off. Maybe I want to go ahead and do that. And if I were to click into any one of these are all links. If I were to click into social, for example, I could see, are these people coming from Facebook? Are they coming from Twitter? Are they coming from Pinterest? From somewhere else that is a social media? And like I said, Google tags all of these automatically. The only one it doesn't tag automatically is paid social, but that's a very quick thing to set up. So that will tell me, I don't have to spend all of my time on Facebook if A, I hate Facebook, and B, I'm I'm buying ads there. If I don't want to engage organically, which is unpaid, on Facebook, I don't have to because, I've seen that Twitter is a better source of potential sales for me. That's just one concrete example of how and when, these analytics can support me as an author to spend more time writing rather than checking in on, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I know I'd really just have to check Twitter. Let's move on to another big table of data. This is page behavioral data. So when people are on my website, what are they doing? Every page. We can see that this first page, this Books Elemental, which is actually this one right here, this is the landing page for all of my ads. I'm sure somebody will ask, why are we sending people to your website instead of directly to Amazon? It's specifically because I wanted to know who was clicking on the ads. What were people doing? What were people, what's the demographic makeup of the people who are interested in what I'm marketing? You can absolutely send people directly to Amazon or to Books to Read or to whatever link you're using, whatever shop you're using. The reason why I put everything on my website is exactly this, so that I can get this information, so that I can better spend my time, so I can better target my marketing. So let's jump into this data just like we did before. Page. What page on the website? Is it my landing page? Is it my home page? Is it the blog? Is it contact? Is it something else? You can see this, just bare slash, that's just my home page. About links is a page that I set up specifically for Instagram to use as my link in bio. And again, the reason why I've set it up on my website and not as like Linktree for my business is because I want to know who's clicking the link in the bio. I want to know more about who's actually interested enough to come to my website from Instagram. You can see I've got a couple of blog posts here about Black Lives Matter, about cover reveals, general pages for the blog and my books and all of that. So that's all broken down into these metrics. How many just views of the page were there? How many people came and saw it? And it won't just be, unique people, it'll be just views of the page. Unique page views. So if I'm on my website and I'm here, I click here, and then, I go back to the other page, that counts as 2 page views, only 1 unique page view. So if you're really curious to see just how many unique page views you have, you look right there. Average time on page. How much time are people spending on my page? This is important to know as an author, because if you have people who are spending 0 time at all on a page that's really important to you, that page is probably not effective. If it's a sales page, it'd be a different story. Let's look at one, for example. So like I said, this books/elemental is my landing page. People are spending 2 minutes to read my copy. They're actually taking in what's on the page. And as we saw, previously, they're buying books. I mean, like I said, this is my ad landing page. They're going and buying books. So from these different sets of information, I know that this is a valuable page for me. If I look down here, this Black Lives Matter blog post, people are taking the time to read that blog post. That's good for me to know, because that was a bit of a risky post to put out for me. It made a very clear statement about my business and about who I am and who might, want to come and do business with me. So the fact that that did well and that people are, taking the time to read it, that's encouraging. I might want to do more content like that in future. Jumping back up to the top, if we look at entrances, what page did people enter your website on? So again, not a surprise to see that most people are visiting my website via my ads. That's exactly as intended. You can also see that quite a few of them are entering on my Instagram link in bio page. It's good to know as well. Bounce rate we've covered, people coming and doing nothing. This one we can see is 100% because that's a broken link. It's another reason why it's good to have your analytics. If you've done all this trouble to set up a website as an author and pages are broken, that's not helpful. Likewise, we can see that, 33%, they're really, really, really low bounce rate. So people are landing on the blog page and they're presumably going and clicking to read things. Percent exit, how many people are leaving your website from that page? That may be a good thing. So I want a high percent exit from this book's elemental page. I want people leaving my website to go and buy my book. It's a good thing. If I saw a really low exit on a purchase page as an author, I would need to go back and look at how my book is presented on this page. I would need to go back and ask, is my marketing compelling for this book? And page value is it's a kind of an arbitrary number that I've set up. It helps me understand of those, sales, and I've set it at $1 per sale. You don't have to be exact. It's really just to give you a ballpark in this case if you're just starting out. I can see that my most valuable page is in fact links, Instagram. Maybe I want to make sure to post some more things on Instagram telling people to go click the link in my bio, because that's a good supporting page. There's nothing to buy on that page. It's a supporting page that funnels people into other things to do. As expected, we see that the book landing page is also quite valuable. So let's pull that together. As an author, I need to understand what people are doing on my website so I know where to spend my time. This page is kind of artificially inflated, this landing page, because I'm paying to send traffic to it. That traffic is doing what I want it to do, so it's worth my time to do more pages like this. I have another book coming out in November. I have another landing page set up exactly like this one, where I'm going to be doing ads exactly like this one, because I found that that works for me. I may not spend so much time doing another cover reveal blog post, because that isn't really impressive. I get more visits to a homepage that I don't advertise than I did to a blog post that I did. Again, limited time, limited resources. Maybe I don't do another cover reveal if people just simply aren't interested in it. Let's look at some Twitter data. I think I've mentioned Twitter is probably my best platform, so it's the one I spend the most time on, and I know that both anecdotally and because I use my analytics. These are just some examples of a monthly snapshot. So this is the monthly. I can see what tweet did well overall, what was my top mention. So this is actually from my Write Wherever account, and I've used my business account to tweet myself. You can see who your followers are. You can see tweets, profile visits, new followers, tweet impressions, and you can see that every month, going back a while over your account. That's really important to pay attention to, because if you see suddenly that a month is bombing out, like crashing, you need to really take into account, is this seasonality? Is this a thing that happens because it's December and nobody really wants to pay attention to social media anymore? Or is it a thing that happened because you changed what you're promoting, you changed what you're posting about? That's where it's really important to be using your analytics as a baseline, just so you have that idea of what is normal for you, what is normal for your platform as an author. And each tweet here will have their own stats. So this tweet was one of my better ones. It had a 5.5% engagement rate. As I mentioned at the beginning, that engagement rate is made up of all of these different things. You may remember when I was talking about clicks. Clicks are profile clicks, also link clicks. They are also detail expands. So I may have gotten really excited to see, oh, I've got so many clicks. 33 of those were link clicks. Now, over time, I will start to have a picture of, is 33 good or bad? But I have to be paying attention to my analytics to do that. So where can you find your data? This is all stuff that is available for free, like I said at the beginning. None of this has to be paid for. It is all freely available for you to use. Your website, you can get Google Analytics. It'll be a little bit of a technical setup. There are some WordPress plugins that make it easy. I think Squarespace makes it pretty easy. There will be, some minor website work to get that installed. Alternatively, you can just use your site provider's dashboard. I have found that it's not as detailed and in-depth as Google is, but it's usable. It's good for, if you're just starting out. On social media, I've only really included the 3 that I use. So, if you use something else, you can go in and find it. I know Pinterest has, their demographics as well. On Twitter, you have to be on a desktop or on a laptop computer. If you see there's 3 dots in a circle and you click on those and go to analytics, you'll see all of the information that I put here. There are extra tabs across the top, so you can dig into it more deeply. You can change time periods and just generally dig into your information. On Facebook, you need to look for the Insights tab at the top. So it might be hidden because I think they've added an extra thing for COVID-19. Again, on a desktop, I think you can also do it on a mobile phone if you're on the website, not necessarily on the app. But look for the Insights tab at the top, and that will have all of your page visitor information, your post by post breakdown, very similar to what Twitter has. And then Instagram on your phone, you need to convert your account to a professional account. You go to settings, you go to account, and you say switch to professional account. And there will be an extra button added that says Insights. If I recall correctly, it only tells you the last 7 days of data. It will tell you some things like demographics, the country, which posts are doing well. Here's the thing that I think probably people are asking or thinking, how do I know if my numbers are good? I want a caveat to say that although I'm providing some benchmarks here, whether or not your numbers are good are entirely dependent on your intention. When we're using data, when we're using marketing in general, we have to be very clear on what is the one big thing we are trying to achieve with any given action. If you're putting a post out on social media, you're writing a blog post, it needs to focus on one thing. It can't be buy my book and sign up to my newsletter and do this and do this and do this, still be effective. The most effective marketing has one call to action. You might see it called CTA, call to action. Figure out what one thing you really want people to do, and then that makes it easier for you to look at your numbers and understand, are they good? So I'm going to use bounce rate as an example. High bounce rate is usually not good because you wanted somebody to take an action on your page. However, if the point of your page was simply to provide information that people could then go away and do something else, maybe make a phone call or, go into the store or go do something else, doesn't need a click, then a high bounce rate is fine because they've done exactly what you wanted them to do. Having a very clear understanding of, like I said, your intentions and the desired action of the person who is, on the receiving end is so important. That being said, website engagement, bounce rate, we like to see 50 to 70% for most pages, or for blog posts, keeping it under 90%. Blog posts are kind of a thing that people will come, they'll consume, and then they'll go away. You can improve that by making sure that you have links to other pages in your website within the body of the blog post itself. But just make sure it's relevant to what you've blogged about. Pages per session, just try for more than one. As long as there's more than one, then somebody has come and they're doing something else on your website, and that's great because you've kept their interest. Average session duration, 3 minutes is the target that a lot of SEOs, a lot of search engine optimization experts will, tell you to aim for. Realistically, 40 to 50 seconds is probably more likely. Social media engagement, and keep in mind that these figures are all for, big corporate accounts with tens of thousands or millions of followers, is why they look so low. This is why we need to be careful about falling into the follower trap. I know that, writers' lists are really big. I know that a lot of us are really anxious to build a big platform because we think that it'll help us get noticed by publishers. And sometimes it does. But a clever marketer will look at a high follower count and say, great, you've got 30 million followers. What is your engagement rate? Because if you have 30 million followers, 0 of them are engaging with your content, those followers are effectively useless. We need to pay attention to, as we're growing our accounts, as we're growing our followers, we are continuing to find ways to engage with them. And as I mentioned, this Facebook 0.09%, Instagram 1.22%, Twitter 0.045%. That's all for corporate social media. Personally, for myself, my Twitter engagement rate has been more around 4% for a 28-day period. That tends to spike when I have books coming out because a lot of people in the writing community are awesome and supportive and, help and retweet my books. Between that, between those launch periods, maybe it comes down a little bit, but it tends to average about 4% for me. If you have more than that, congratulations, that's really awesome. You're doing something right. You have the right people following you. So it's just basically a good sign. And then just for context, the average of 1 post per day on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is good. Twitter, you can get away with having more, something like 6 to 10 is normal. Anything more than that in kind of like a salesy fashion is going to be annoying. Instagram, I think you can get away with, 2 to 3 kind of posts a day. Facebook, probably likewise, but it's probably best to stick to that, just 1 post per day. If you can't get to 1 post per day, try 1 per week. Try 1 every other day. Really just try to get into a pattern and into a cadence. That really helps the algorithm understand that you're an active account, that they can consider, promoting to other people on the network. How do you get started with all of these, data and analytics and numbers? Assuming that you've been convinced that this is worth your time and something that's important to help you save time. I know upfront the investment is going to be a bit much, but long run, it can help you save time. Have to stress that you need to get familiar with data protection laws if you're going to put analytics into your website, if you're going to be advertising, if you're going to be sending emails, and you have customers or potential customers or people who are receiving marketing material. That could be an email. It doesn't have to be a straight up ad. If you have customers in Europe, European Union, state of California in the United States, or Brazil, all 3 of these jurisdictions have very strong data protection laws. If you are collecting data from residents, you will have legal obligations. See these cookie banners that are coming up everywhere? That's an example of one of the obligations. You have to inform people that you are collecting data about them via cookies and give them the opportunity to opt out. And I should add also that if you're sending emails, There's another law for the US and Canada called CAN-SPAM, CAN-SPAM, that you should also be aware of, because there are some legal repercussions that could fall out of that if you're emailing people without their explicit opt-in. It's not to scare anybody, but that's just to say there is a reason why you keep seeing cookie banners come up, and that all of this data that we're collecting is actually someone's personal property according to these jurisdictions. We want to treat it with respect. We want to make sure that people are aware that we are gathering it, and we have to do what we can to protect it. There are some ramifications if there's a hack. I will add that this is really only for your website. You can't be responsible really for what Twitter does or doesn't do. And caveat: I am not a legal professional. I am not giving legal advice. I am simply saying what I have observed in my years as a marketer. Once you have an idea of what broad overview of these data protection laws is, in by getting familiar with your social media. There's no setup required. You can simply start checking once per week and start looking to see, are there some trends? One post do better than others? And start thinking critically about why that might be. If you don't have a website already, set one up. And this is probably the thing that I tell authors most frequently. Get your website set up. It's not just to claim your name on the internet. It's also so you can start collecting this data, because you don't want to reach, book publication day and realize that you have no idea who's interested or who you're trying to reach. The sooner you start, the sooner you can have that information. When you have a website, you can learn about Google Analytics with Analytics Academy. It's a free service offered by Google. It'll tell you how to set up GA. It'll tell you how to read the basic reports. It'll tell you how to troubleshoot some things. Alternatively, you can hire a digital marketing consultant to do that for you. It's a very basic action, and it shouldn't be too expensive. And define your questions. So like I said, you need to have an intent when you're doing your marketing. You need to have an intent when you're looking at your data. What are you trying to find out? Are you trying to learn about your audience? Are you trying to learn about their behavior on your website? Are you trying to learn about sales opportunities, where people are coming from who buy your book? Are you trying to find out some information to learn more about your ad performance or what you could test next? Those are some very basic things I think that you can do to get started. If you're, if you've looked at this presentation, you're saying like, okay, yeah, like I should be doing this. That being said, I have come to the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. If you do sign up for the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is for Venue Media, which is my publishing and print and consulting agency, I will enter into a lottery. Anybody who signs up today win a free hour of consulting that they can use toward setting up Google Analytics on their website. I could look through your existing web and social media data and give some recommendations. I'm just talking you through different ways to improve your unpaid book marketing efforts. That is at go.benumedia.com/newsletter. And now I think I am taking questions. I see one in the Analytics for Author chat. Love Song. Have you noticed a change in data since the COVID situation? Has it changed your approach? This is a really, really, really good question, because COVID has basically turned a lot of marketing on its head. The patterns for things aren't what they used to be. So, there used to be very clear times of day when we would post things. We know that people in certain time zones will get up at this time, they'll be logging into work at this time, they will be taking a lunch at this time, they'll be on their commute at this time, maybe they're on a train and they could see our ad then. All of that has pretty much gone out the window. And I think Spotify actually had a really good analysis on that all of the kind of podcasts that people were listening to before work are now being listened to at like any time of the day. This isn't really related to the presentation, but like with advertising, we've seen that everything is completely on its head. Cost per acquisition, so how much does it cost to get a customer up? We're seeing clicks going down. The economic situation has been changing a lot of things. So I'd say, yeah, it has changed my approach, but not dramatically, because I'm still testing a lot of things. I only released, my first full-length novel in June. I'm still learning what is the baseline for me. I also try to do things a little differently anyway, because if every marketer in the United States is saying, oh, well, everybody's going to be on lunch at 12 Eastern, your message is going to be drowned out. So it's about finding these kind of odd times maybe that you'll still be seen, but maybe not so aren't so busy. So 3 p.m. in the afternoon, for example, when people are hitting their end of day slump and log on to check stuff. Sung, let me know if that answered the question or if you have any follow-up. Leah Talon, I may have missed it, but do you have a specific tool for creating links that are tracked like Bitly, or does Google Analytics do that for you? Two-part question, I think. Yes, I do have a specific tool that I create links that are tracked. I use Rebrandly. It's very similar to Bitly. If you prefer Bitly, you can use that. Here's the catch. I only use that if I've either grabbed a third-party link, so my book link from Amazon. I will put it in Rebrandly and get a branded link from my website so that I can track better who's interested in Amazon, because I don't have access to Amazon's data. I don't know, if I post a link on Twitter and it goes directly to Amazon, I have no idea who clicked it or what they did. Using a tool like Rebrandly or Bitly gives you a little bit more information about, were people clicking that link. That being said, Google Analytics does a lot of that for you. If you are, you're sharing a YouTube link, you don't want to put UTM tracking tags on a YouTube link because you won't get that information. UTMs are, it's just like the question mark equals blah, 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 and a bunch of random stuff that's on the end of a link. If you click on something from a news website or anywhere else that tracks, that can be part of a specific campaign. Generally, you only want to put that kind of information onto a link going to your website. And that's kind of a bit more of a technical discussion that I want to get into here, but I'm happy to talk about it offline if you still have more questions on that. There's a question to write the tool names. I will be happy to do that as soon as I wrap up. And yes, Leah's got that one. Any tips on how to stand out with your name when you're up with others that have the same name? John Smith, but enough to have people doubt if it's you or someone else. So that's a good one. I have one of those names, actually. There were like 26 Whitney Hills. I can't get whitneyhill@gmail.com. I couldn't get whitneyhill.com, the website. I put Whitney Hill Writes on the end. That both differentiates me as Whitney Hill from Whitney Hill the realtor or Whitney Hill the developer. It also gives Google a hint that this is a website about writing. It helps them categorize me a bit more closely. If something like Whitney Hill Writes or Whitney Hill Author was already gone, you could put an abbreviation of your name. You could put just something that is generally related to writing. I wouldn't say Whitney Hill Horror or Whitney Hill Fantasy, because if you ever decided to change genres one day, you're a bit stuck with that brand, and you may well find that it doesn't fit anymore. So you'd have the choice then to either have a separate website or kind of be stuck with it. Looks like people are sharing links to the tools. That's great. Thank you, guys. Yeah, talking about Rebrandly for Amazon links. Yeah, I definitely put the Amazon links into Rebrandly. So I don't know if any of you follow me on Twitter at all, but you'll see whwrites.com. It's a separate domain that I bought specifically for tracking that. You don't have to do that. You don't even have to, you don't have to do personalized domains at all. But that is definitely something I do so that I can track who is interested in the Amazon links. Are people clicking on it? When did they click on it? And try to get some correlation between when I did this promotion and when people clicked. The question, I heard somewhere that 3-part author names aren't optimal. I was thinking of writing as Thea Blair King. Sorry if I got that name wrong. Thoughts on that? Just speaking generally, I don't know where somebody said 3-part author names aren't optimal. I suspect it's to do with the length of the URL. Generally, shorter is better, just because you're asking people to remember that if you ever want them to type it in. It's really going to be what are you, like, who are you writing as? If you're writing as your full name, then maybe that works because, you know, that's what people are going to be seeing on the cover of your book. So that's what they're going to go type into Google. If you're writing as TB King, then maybe you want to have your website be tbking.com. It looks like the question was definitely about remembering it. Yeah. Just the shorter the better for, like I said, for remembrance, but then also because overall link URLs generally should be, I think it's 100 characters total. And the more of those characters that you take up with your domain name, the fewer there are for everything that comes after the slash. So keep it short if you can. Otherwise, keep it to what's on your book cover. Another question for Amazon links. How do you link so Amazon automatically switches to the person's region rather than going straight to Amazon.com? I use Books to Read for that. I think Smashwords might have a tool for it. I honestly don't use a tool that switches to the person's region. I might do targeted posts. So if I want to promote something to France, I go on, you know, like Facebook, just target to France, because you can target your posts. I do know there are tools like that. I don't use them. I'm sorry, I can't really speak to that one. How imperative is it to have your name as the social media handles? Can I use my company name instead, or an online nickname such as Love Song? I feel like I could switch now before it's too late, but I'm also already 6K followers up on Twitter. I don't use my name on Twitter. You see in the presenter window, my name is right_wherever. That is what I use on Twitter and on Instagram. So for the handle, the at whoever, it's at right wherever. My business for Benu Media, I use at Benu Media. I use the name part to say Whitney Hill, to say who I am. Say you want your name in there somewhere. If it's not in the handle, then in the name, you know, the part that you can change. Because if it's nowhere, then how can people find you? That's you know, I know the October Halloween names are cute, but if you're querying and you don't have your name anywhere, it's going to be kind of hard for you know, agents or whoever to look you up and to know, oh, this is the right person who actually has 6,000 followers. So I'd say as long as your name is in there somewhere, there's no need to switch. If nothing else, put it in your bio. So I will call that a wrap. If you do have questions, I will be off and on in WH Spryte all day. Feel free to ping me. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, feel free to reach out there. Again, I probably won't answer questions about, you know, specific cases because I do consulting for a side job, but I will do my best to answer any kind of general questions. I'm totally happy to do that. And again, if you sign up for the newsletter and it's today, then I will do a drawing for an hour of free consulting, and you can ask me all the questions that you want, very specific to your situation. So thank you guys again. It was really great to be here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.